Thank you.
And I'm taking the 9 back, by the way.
Okay. Okay. Siman Tzadi Gimel Dina Yoledes Ubay Hey Seifim. So now is the dinim of Yoledes. So Yoledes is unique, and we're going to see in the Kitzur because it's a sakana. But since it's the regular nature of the world for a woman to have a baby, so therefore we try and be more machmer a little bit on how you go about it. So let's see. Miyad Aleph Miyad Kasheskila Isha Lahargish Simone Leda. Right when a woman starts feeling the simonim of Leda, feel he misapekes. Even if she's not sure, that's a big one because people ask, I'm not sure. You're not sure, you do whatever you do during the week. She's called a miyaledes, meaning you call her the midwife, even if she's far away. Right? Because we don't play around with this. Again, even if she's not sure. So if somebody's not sure, she's going to labor, not going to labor, you call the doctor, and whatever you normally do on Shabbos, whatever you normally do during the week, that's what you do on Shabbos. Except, but we'll see. Beis Yoledes arei k'chayla sheyesh b'sakana. She's a chayla sheyesh b'sakana. Machala maleos Shabbos. L'chol ma shehi tzricha. She's when machal Shabbos to anything she needs. Ach im efsher lasas ayedei shinoi. If it's possible to do with a shino ayedei akum eisen with a guy, then we do it. That's why you really have to take a cab to the hospital, and people should not drive themselves. Because there's really usually it's not such a rush to get to the hospital, so you have a guy. She's considered Yeledes once she sits on the birthing table, which is more difficult nowadays because nowadays it's all the same table from when they get in. They don't change. It used to be that they would labor in one room and move to another room. And now it's all in the same place. So it's a little bit hard to figure out at what point it is. Or from when she starts bleeding heavily, if she doesn't have koyach to walk by herself. Those are the three main simonim of that she's holding and having the baby. If she's a mapelis, if she has a miscarriage from 40 days after her mikvah, not 40 days from when the doctor says she was pregnant, Dina Keyaledes, her din is like a Yeledes, because doctors a lot of times go with the first day of the missed period, which Yidden or the first day of the period, which for Yidden obviously is not happening because they're not going to mikvah for at least another week and a half. The first 3 days after she has the baby, so even if she says she doesn't need a mechal Shabbos, we're still mechal Shabbos. And after that, if she doesn't have any other sickness, rak tzara leda, only tzar from the birth, at shiva yom until 7 days. If she says she needs it, mechal l'nala or mechal Shabbos. If she says she doesn't need it, mechal. And then, of course, it has to do with what the doctor says she does need it, etc., that we saw last week. And the days get counted from the birth for loime eslays. It's not a full 72 hours or a full 7. I don't know how many weeks, how many things was it? 96 hours? No, 48. 96, or whatever 7 days are. It's not me'es leis. If she has a baby right before Shkia on Wednesday, Harahi b'yom Shabbos la'achar shloisha. That means that Shabbos is already after 3, because Wednesday is 1, even though it was only a few minutes, and then Thursday and then Friday. And if she has a baby on Shabbos right before the evening, Harahi b'Shabbos haba la'achar shiva. That next Shabbos is already after 7 days. And if we think there's a little bit of sakana, that a woman is weak in her nature, if you make to count these days, he doesn't lose. Meaning, so sometimes this comes up more if a woman has a baby right before Yom Kippur or within the week of Yom Kippur. So at what point does she consider that she has to fast, doesn't have to fast? After 7 days, even if she says she needs malacha done, we're not machal Shabbos. Right? She's still considered sick, but we do everything for her through a guy, but to heat up the house, then a yid can turn on the heat for her. Obviously, if it's not easy, you cannot easily find a guy. Even during Tammuz, because the Yeledes, all 30 days is mesukenes for cold, right? Havlad shenoilad, hey, Havlad shenoilad, marchitzin oisay v'chaytchin es tabura. We wash him up and we cut his the umbilical cord, Mashayin Evarim, and we yashrin Evarim, and we straighten out his Evarim. Ba'isen like kol tzrachim, we do all of his needs. Achem einoi ben kayama, but he's not a ben kayama. If it's 8 months old, which doesn't apply nowadays, 8-month gestation. In the Gemara's times, we looked at a baby born after 8 months of pregnancy did not live. So in Asuran L'Taltalei, this is a very interesting, hard halacha to understand. But if you have a baby born after the 8th month, you're not allowed to take the baby. You're not allowed to move the baby because the baby's muksa, because it's as if it's going to die. So how do you feed the baby? The woman can lean over the baby, and then she could nurse the baby that way without touching the baby. Because of the pain of the milk. I mean, it sounds like she wouldn't even be able to nurse the baby. For the only reason she can nurse the baby is to get her milk out because that's causing her pain, which obviously nowadays these halachas do not apply. And we say that an 8-month gestation can live, so therefore you'd pull out all the stops. Okay, Simin Tzadidala Dine Eruve Chatzeros. Now, for some reason, I don't know why the Kitzur Shulchan put this here. We already discussed Eruvin a few weeks ago, but it puts it in here. Okay, this is a little bit different. Before we discussed how to build the walls and build the lechis, this is how to make Eruve Chatzeros. Is basically you can't have multiple people living like in an apartment building. Even to walk inside the apartment building, they have to combine with each other using challah or something to make it that they're all in one eruv in one mixture. That's basically what you have to do. So that's what this siman is all about. It's not so much about the mix, like the sticks and the how do you say it? Sticks in the strings. All right. Okay, so in Mubai Chav Zayin Seifim there are 27 Seifim. So Aleph Shnei Yisraelim or Yoser Hadarim B'Chatzer Achas. 2 Yisraelim or more that are living in one Chatzer. Kol Echad B'Chedr B'Fnei Atzma. Each one in its own room. Also L'Taltel Leimen Abatim L'Chatzer V'Leimen Achatzer L'Batim. You can't carry from the houses to the Chatzer and not from the Chatzer to the houses. V'Leimi Bayis L'Bayis, not from house to house. V'Afilu B'Loi Derech Chatzer. Even not in the derech of the chatzar, meaning without even going in the yard. Normally, you have to carry from one house to another house. You carry in the yard. No, even if you don't do that, you're right up against the person's house. You can hand things through the windows to each other. It's still also you are not allowed to carry there. It's a mitzvah on them to do an eruv, which we'll discuss how you do that eruv later. But you have to make an eruv. Now, an eruv, there's no eruv of sticks and strings and walls to put up because they're right next to each other. And there's fences, but you have to do the eruv, which is you have to combine to partake in a particular food. And the reason is you don't want to come to a michshol, right? So beis shtei chatzeres. You have 2 yards. Sheyesh b'nei and Pesach. They have a door in between them. All right. Well, sometimes you have a neighbor and they have a door in between. So im writes him. Kol b'nei achatzer eruv echad b'fnei atzman. Then all the b'nei achatzer can make their own eruv. U'mutar and kol b'nei achatzer l'talta b'chatzer shalem. And each person can carry in their own yard. Aval asur l'talta b'chatzer l'chatzer. But since they didn't combine with each other, so each yard can't carry with each other. Kalim sheshav subabayis, kalim that are in the house. Right? But if there's kalim that are in the yard from before Shabbos, then those are allowed to be carried from one yard to the other yard. Right? Him writes him, Aisim kol hadvarim b'shtei chatzeres, kol hadorim b'shtei chatzeres erev echad. And if they want, they can make one big erev. They can make one big happy family. Kadesh yimutaron l'talta gam echatzer l'chatzer, so that they'll be able to carry from one yard to the other yard. Afilu kalim sheshav b'mayim, even babayas, even kalim that are in the house. And if there is in between the chatzeres even just a window, it's at least 4 tvachim wide, 4 tvachim high, and it's within 10 tvachim to the ground, ve'ein boy sriga, and it doesn't have any sort of netting in it that makes it not accessible. Gam kein yichayil lara b'yachad, and they could also make an eruv together. But if it's less than this, it's less than 4 by 4 tvachim, the window, ein yichayil lara b'yachad, and they can't make an eruv together. And let's say there's a window in between two houses, even if it's higher than 10 tvachim, they are allowed to make an eruv together, because the house is looked at like it's filled in, and therefore, even though the window is above 10 tvachim, we look at it like it's below 10 tvachim. It's a little bit complicated, not really so nagaya, so I wouldn't stress anybody out if they're not so clear on this. The main point that we're learning here is that when you have multiple people sharing a yard, they cannot carry from the house to the yard, etc., without having an eruve chatzeres, and that's what we mean when we say they have an eruv, like camps, hotels. Bez Hashem will discuss all those situations, and we will stop there. Everybody should have a fine night.